Hey everyone, Coach Brad here. Are you still struggling to achieve the health, energy, and well being that you deserve and desire? If you're ready to end the struggle once and for all, check out my in demand Couch to Healthy 12-week wellness training program. What is Couch to Healthy, you ask? Couch to Healthy is a 12-week wellness transformation program designed to get you off the yo yo cycle once and for all and take back your health, energy, and happiness in a fun, easy, and sustainable manner. With Couch to Healthy, you'll learn how to create a CEO championship mindset for your health, learn healthy eating habits, learn how to exercise using the slow, easy method based on heart rate and age, and more. Be sure and click on the link in the show notes for more information and get it now while the price is still 50% off for a very limited time. In today's podcast, we'll examine key questions such as how do you turn your life around and go from surviving to thriving? How did Heather lose 115 pounds and keep it off? What made the difference this time around when all the other times were met with failure? What is the most important thing she learned on her journey that made all the difference from who she was to who she is now? And finally, what is the one key takeaway for others who also want to experience a transformation and turn their life around? For this podcast episode, I'll be speaking with Heather Murray, a woman of immense courage who has managed to turn her life completely around. At one point, she was nearly 115 pounds overweight, borderline diabetic, in a highly toxic relationship, dealing with a terminally ill parent, and suffering from very low self esteem and self worth. Just when she was ready to cave and give in to the diabetes and more, something changed. That something, which she'll talk about in today's episode, was the spark that ignited her to transform and become the woman that she is today. Heather lost 115 pounds over the course of 2 years and has now kept it off for the past 3 years. She is no longer in danger of being a diabetic, has developed a newfound love of walking and nutrition, and is now on a mission to help others do the same. How did she do all this? And if you're struggling with your health, energy, and self worth, how can you take all that back and find yourself in the process? Take a listen to hear her story and how you can apply some of her wisdom to your own journey. And be sure and listen to the end for a special free offer. Heather is the proud mom of one teenage son currently residing in Connecticut. She has lost 115 pounds and counting, as she still says, and in the process gained a life of abundance and joy after experiencing the trauma of domestic violence. She is an entrepreneur who now wishes to use her experience to help and encourage others. Welcome again, everyone, to another episode of the Be Well, Be Safe, Be Happy, Eat Ice Cream podcast. As always, I'm just super, super happy to be here. And I've got another incredible guest here with me today. Today, I've got Heather Murray, and she's actually with us in Connecticut here today. So, Heather, welcome to the show this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Brad. I'm glad to be here. What an honor.
Well, the honor is all mine because as we were talking a little bit off camera before we started recording, and I'm reading some of the show notes here, you've got an absolutely incredible story. And I love to have people on this show that have really done a 180 with their life and have gone from what I call surviving to thriving. And you're certainly an example of that, and that you have managed to, you've been through a lot. We'll get into your story here in just a couple of minutes, but I just want to read a couple of things that I didn't get to in the intro. So at one point, you were 110 pounds overweight. You were insulin resistant, and we'll get into a little bit to what that means, which basically means you put on weight when you're insulin resistant. You had metabolic syndrome. You were pre-diabetic with high cholesterol and very abnormal labs in terms of blood chemistry and all that. So, Heather, take us back to the beginning. What was going on in your life that you were 110 pounds overweight, and now you are this. I've seen some of your videos. You're a workout beast, and you're hitting the gym all the time, and you live to work out and all of that now. And so, yeah, do tell, share us your secrets and how you turn.
Yeah, yeah. Well, sure. Yeah, I know. Work it's a passion now, so it's a quite a 180 for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess I'll just jump right into this. So my story kind of starts on a kind of dark note, I guess.
Okay.
I am a domestic violence survivor.
Okay.
I was in a terrible situation, and my coping mechanism in that time was eating. I just
Okay.
there wasn't a lot of other outlets for me in that situation, so um, that was what I did to deal with the situation. So um, it was I was saying to you before we started that this is such a, a great podcast for me to be on because the name of the show is be happy, be safe, be well, and eat the ice cream. And a big part of my story has to do with my father,
Mhm.
and my father always stopped to eat the ice cream, and so it was he's a very special guy, and unfortunately he's passed away, and that is a big part of my story of what turned things around for me. um so we're gonna kind of flash back to July of 2017.
Okay.
I was in that terrible situation. I was living in North Carolina at the time. And I'm from Connecticut, and so my whole family's up here in Connecticut. And so I came up here for the summer with my son. Not for the summer. I came up here to bring my son up here for the summer. He was going to stay with my parents during the summer to visit. So I came up, and um, I arrived here on July 9th. And in time for my son's birthday is July 10th. So I was here to celebrate the birthday. We had a great celebration. And then 2 days later, my father and he said he wanted to talk to me and have a pretty serious conversation with me.
Okay.
And basically, he was very concerned about me. He could tell things were not right in my world with me or my son. Um, if you've talking if you've ever spoken with people who have been through domestic violence, a lot of times it's a hidden thing. We put on our best face and we go out and we try to hide it from the world, but there's not a lot you can hide from your parents, right? They know you the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. Especially dad.
So yeah. So he was concerned enough that he wanted to talk to me and kind of check in. And I had never really spoken with them about it before, my parents. Um, but he was definitely concerned. So we had a very lengthy conversation and talked about how I could get out of that situation, and basically my I knew I needed to get out of the situation. I just didn't know how. It's not an easy thing sometimes to extract yourself from those situations. It's not as easy as just walking out the door and leaving.
Yeah.
There's a lot of considerations, for safety and such. So I was, we had that conversation about, well, I absolutely know that I need to do this, but I don't know how to do it safely for myself and for my son. So I feel like I'm just really stuck, and we had a brainstorming session for about 2 hours on how I could do that safely. And we came up with a few ideas, but nothing solid at that point, but just a couple of ideas. And then we were gonna kind of loop my mother into the conversation, the next day or so. In the next day or so, we just um however, About 2 hours after my dad and I had that lengthy conversation, he had a massive seizure. Um,
Oh, that same day.
and y- 2 hours later,
Talk about timing.
we had had our conversation, and then we had the conversation, and then we all, we decided to go over to my sister's house. We're all going to have dinner and hang out by the pool, whatever. So we were over to my sister's, and he was just sitting there, and he just had a massive seizure. Um, the man had never been sick really a day in his life. I try to think about that as a kid. I don't remember the man ever taking a sick day. You know what I mean? He was always just a healthy guy. Um, and turned out after a few days, it was discovered that he had stage 4 brain cancer, glioblastoma.
And it had never
So
been detected up until he had the seizure. Wow.
no, nothing. Not he
Stage
never had
four
even
is
such as that.
very advanced.
Yes,
Wow.
and never had anything, even like a headache. Like
Wow.
no, just yeah. So so life changed right then and there. Everything changed, right? So we had to have surgery, and had the tumor removed, and thank God, they were saying that where the tumor was located, that he may not have a speech, or he may have personality changes, or they prepared us for those things. But he actually came through the surgery quite well, and he retained his speech, his personality. He was himself, really, right up until the very end. It was a very short, he was diagnosed July, and he passed that December. So it was a very short illness for him. I mean, he fought hard. And what we're most grateful for is that up until the very, very last, he was himself. He had his personality and you know, um, his wits about him, and he wasn't in any pain or suffering. I mean, the chemo and stuff was not easy on him, but
Well, let
we
me,
had those last few months where he was
yeah. Let
himself.
me ask, Heather.
Mm-hmm.
So at this time, 2017, you were 110 pounds overweight and dealing with the
Mm-hmm.
issues. So was this the event that kind of jump started you to turn things around then?
Yes. So what had happened is, he said to me, we had a moment shortly after his surgery, just he and I in the room, and he kind of just looked at me, and he said, "Well, I think we have our answer." And I said, "Answer to what, Dad?" And he said, "I I don't want cancer, but if cancer makes you stay, if that's your reason to stay, then give me cancer." He's like, "I want, like, who's going to argue about you staying here with me now that I have this diagnosis?" And you know
Yeah, made
it
it
was my
easier for you.
my safe way out. you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
it
yeah.
was, as awful as that sounds, it was my safe way out.
Makes sense though. No,
um
totally get what you're saying.
yeah, yeah. So we, through the illness, there was I had always been very focused on healthy foods, organic foods, natural foods, all that. I was always had that interest in my life, but in that period of my life, I was not applying any of it. I was in pure survival mode, right? Just eating as much ice cream as I could find. But with his diagnosis, there was a focus for him now to eat healthier, and just do everything you can to support him nutritionally and everything to get through that. So there was that refocused effort on healthy eating. Um, so that was kind of the kickstart of it for me, just where the seeds were planted. But then shortly after he passed, um, I had this moment. I needed to go clear my head. I needed to, um, just process everything that had been happening. Um, and I just started walking. I
Okay,
hadn't
yeah.
walked in forever,
Okay.
and I just needed to walk. I needed to get out and get fresh air and whatever. And I could barely walk down to the end of my street, to be honest with you. It was hard. Um, but there was some woods at the end of my street, and I really wanted to get into those woods, because that's just where I always felt most at peace, I guess, is
Okay.
in nature.
Okay.
So I made it my goal to be able to get down to the end of the street and into those woods and start walking in the woods. And that was really the start of my journey. Um, and it was purely just walking, little by little. I maybe did 10 minutes that first day, and I just kind of committed to just keep doing it and keep doing it. And then the next thing I knew, I was walking 2 miles a day, then 4, then 8 miles a day.
Well,
Then I was,
let me jump in real quick, Heather, because that's critical to anyone's journey. You just said I committed to, walking 2 and then 4. How were you able to commit?
yes.
So many people fail because they don't commit. So what was it about you that you were able to commit to your journey?
So that's a great question. I had this moment uh, shortly after I finished, as I was out of my divorce and all that. I was alone in the bathroom,
Okay.
and
Great place for an
I
epiphany.
know, I know, we're taking a little turn here, but I had this is going to sound a little silly, but I had bought like a really nice face cream cleanser and all that. And I was just going to do a little bit of self care on myself because like
Uh-huh.
during the marriage, like taking care of myself wasn't allowed, right? I was ridiculed for that. So I just had this moment and I washed my face with this face cream and I looked at myself in the mirror as I was doing that and I did not recognize who was looking back at me. I had no idea. I was this shell of a person. I didn't know. I was just existing, right? There was no life in me. I was like flat, you know. And I
Okay.
realized at that moment that I needed to make a change, right? My I needed to find myself again. I was deathly afraid I was losing myself. So the commitment came, and this was the difference between every other time that I had tried to lose weight or exercise or anything. The
Yeah, yeah.
difference the difference this time around was that this was no longer a punishment. It wasn't, something I just needed to get through. Um, this was an act of love to myself and and
Mhm.
care.
Getting
Um,
again.
yeah, and finding myself and reconnecting with myself. Like that's it. The whole thing in my brain just turned right around. Um, like this, I wanted to do this for myself because I love myself, right? Which was a feeling I hadn't had in a very long time, being in the situation I was, you know. So it just turned right around from being punishment or critical, oh, I don't like how I look. None, it wasn't about that. It was, well, I mean, at the very base of it, it was survival. I felt like if I didn't do something, I was gonna, I needed to be there for my son. He's all I'm all he has. I mean, we have family enough, but I'm his parent. Like I'm the only parent he has, right? So, I was looking at having to be on insulin and diet, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I don't do this now, I'm gonna lose myself.
Mm.
So it just that was the switch. That was the difference. Is
Mm.
it's
That's
an act
powerful.
of love.
That's powerful. Yeah. So
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
that the year 2017 too? Then how long was from when your dad was diagnosed till his passing and
It
what's
was,
the
it
time?
was, it was very quick. It was, July 2017, and he passed in December 2017.
Okay.
So very quick.
And all the
This time period for me was, in, I'm sorry.
oh, I was just saying, then all this catalyst, so that's what started you on the journey to take your life back, to reclaim your, as I say,
Yes.
and your
Yes.
energy.
Yeah.
How
As
long?
so I lost my father and the marriage, the divorce. It was all happening at once, right?
Oh, yeah.
All together. So the time period of this was mid 2018. So my father had passed. So now I'm processing. It takes a while to, like, I was just completely numb. So it takes a while to, I always say that, like, my nervous system had to settle down. I had to be ready, right? I had to do some processing first. So this was all kind of mid 2018 ish. And then I really jumped in 2019 with, like, just hitting the ground running with the nutrition and the walking and the, um, you know, eventually weightlifting and
Oh, yeah. Very,
all
very
kinds of,
accomplished weightlifting. Yeah.
yeah,
Some of
yeah,
your Instagram videos. So
yeah.
so roughly 2019 you really jumped into it. So from 2000, so I'm just trying to get a time period for the weight loss here. 110 pounds, that's huge. What roughly that
Hmm.
was over, you lost that weight over the course of what, about 2 years, 3 years? How long did it take you to lose that much weight, I guess?
Well, actually, to be honest with you, the first 90 pounds came off super quick, and
Okay.
I'm not, you know, and it came off with just simply walking. That
Okay.
probably came off in 9 months. The first 90 pounds came off
Okay.
in about 9 months, and
Walking
that was strictly just walking because that's all I could do at that point in
walking
time.
every day for like what, half an hour or?
I walked every day. It's like I said, it started 10 minutes a day, and then I just built up and built up and built up. And eventually I was walking 8 hours a day, 8 miles a day. um, but I'd
Wow,
break,
8 hours. That's more than me. Yeah. 8 miles.
yeah,
That's still pretty good. That's about 2 or 3 hours.
yeah, it took me about 2 hours, 2 hours. So what I would do is, that became the challenge now, because 8 miles a day is a time challenge. You're working, you're doing this, you've got
Yeah, with everything
three
else.
kids.
Yeah.
How do you fit in 8 miles of walking? Well, now, oh, I better start hitting a 15-minute mile so I can, keep up my pace and get this done in 2 hours. Or, oh, maybe I should try to run some of it. Or, so that's where kind of you just keep upping that ante a little bit.
Mm.
And then I did, sometimes I would break it up and do, 2 miles early in the morning, and then 2 miles at lunch, take a break, and then and some more, and then maybe 4 miles after dinner or in the evening, just
Split
kind
them.
of,
Yeah.
break it up a little bit. But the most important thing, even if it wasn't 8 miles, is that I went out there and did something every single day. It didn't matter if it was raining, if it was snowing, if it was windy. It didn't matter. Like, I made that commitment to myself, and that was it. There was no negotiation about that.
Yeah.
But the thing is once I had that switch in mindset, I didn't need to negotiate with myself. Like
Yeah.
I told, is it's just an act of love, and you want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to do that for myself.
Because you were
It's
proving yourself and becoming a better version of you. Yeah, which is what you want.
absolutely. And there's no better therapy, in my opinion, in the world than going out for a walk in the woods. It I sorted through all kinds of that trauma. Now I want to just caveat that with, I did seek professional therapy as well, in this time period to help with mindset and all that stuff. But just the sorting out and the ordering of my life, that all happened on those walks, and I rediscovered things about myself on those
That
walks.
I was
Like,
going to ask you that next. So the for folks that are listening, or perhaps if you're watching the YouTube. So Heather, the woman I see in front of me now is full of life and joy and got a good pep in her step, and I see her smiling and everything, and I'm thinking, gosh, who was this person 5 years ago? So how
yeah,
yeah, so what did you learn about yourself along the way? How would you compare yourself now to who you were 5 years ago? It's I'm guessing you're night and day different.
it is night and day difference. Absolutely. Um, Today, I feel like I'm my true and authentic self. Like, this is me. This is who I was meant to be. I've always had that joy inside of me. But when you're in a situation like that, you lessen yourself and make yourself small to not attract attention of that person, right? You want to fly under the radar, right? So, um, like music, I love music, but music was an irritant to the my ex-husband. So
Oh, okay.
I
Wow.
stopped listening to music, right? Well, what I discovered on these walks is I love music. Like, I had forgotten how much I love music. So just even just rediscovering that. Sometimes I was walking and I found myself just dancing instead of walking. I mean, I'm sure I looked foolish in the neighborhood, but I didn't care because,
Yeah.
like, it was just rediscovering all those things about me. I listened to like great podcasts while I was walking, for inspiration and mindset.
Now you have one more podcast you can add to your
Yes,
repertoire
yes,
there.
so there's just so many great things out there to listen to. I listen to educational things. It's where I do like real estate investing now, and I have this new little entrepreneurial thing I'm getting going that I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. Like, I learned all those new skills, like, just, I mean, an amazing thing. Stuff for my spirit, my soul. You know, it's amazing the things that you can do and learn about yourself just on a walk in the woods. You know.
I love what
Um,
you're saying, and I want to point this out really quick for our listeners because this is so key. So, for you, and what I tell our listeners is it's not about losing weight or a number on a scale. It's about discovering who you are, and that's you discovered your true
mhm.
authentic self. It's
Yes.
made all the difference,
Hmm.
and that has now. How long have you kept the weight off? So it's one thing to lose it, but now it's another thing to keep it off. So that was 3 years ago. So you've kept it all off for 3 years then.
Yeah, yeah, I have. And I'm still, well, I mean, I'm still work in process. There's these last a few pounds here, like, it's no lie, they're the hardest. So I'm still keeping at it. So it's been 3 years, and I've been just keeping up with the workouts and the new nutrition. Um, what I didn't mention was another game changer for me. I did seek out the help of a doctor for nutrition,
Okay.
and and this was another kind of aha moment for me. Um, this doctor, naturopathic type doctor, um, did she does genetic testing on you to kind of figure out what is the best diet for you, what about you, what works best for you. And when I went to her, like I said, I was, insulin resistant, all that stuff on my plate, like thinking, this is my fate. I'm going to be a diabetic. Diabetes runs in my family. Might as well just get on with it, right?
Mm.
Bring on the diabetes and give me my, whatever, my insulin, that was kind of in the back of my mind. Like, doesn't matter what I do, I'm still going to get diabetes, right? Well, the really cool thing I learned with this genetic testing was, she's like, actually, you are not predispositioned for diabetes. You're not, you know. Um, so for me, all of a sudden, having that in black and white in front of me, I was like, so. it's on me. These are it's my choices, and I'm in control of this. And that was another huge help for me, because now I knew that this was in within my control. These were the choices I could make for myself, and I didn't have to be a diabetic. But I didn't know that. So there's just some cool new stuff out there these days that if you can and you have the means to do it, it's worth checking into, because that was just a big moment for me. Like, I don't have to be a diabetic. I don't have to have high cholesterol and insulin resistance and all this nonsense. I don't have to. It's
Yeah.
my choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's huge. I
So,
try to emphasize that a lot with people too. You have a choice, and what I often like
mhm.
to tell people is the most important choice you'll ever make in your life is who you choose to become, who you choose to be, and you chose to be
Yes.
your authentic self. Let me ask you this,
Yes.
Heather. So you're in a room. Let's just say hypothetically, you're in a room and you're in front of an audience of, I don't know, 5, 10 people or however many, and they are all you 5 years ago, or they are all in your situation now that you were 5 years ago, overweight,
Mhm.
maybe an abusive relationship, down and out, low self-esteem. What would you say to those people? Obviously, it's possible to turn everything around as you did it, but what would you tell them? Like,
Yes.
do this first or be this first?
Do not just, I would tell them, you're worth it. Do not give up. You are a beautiful person, and you're worth the effort. Um, it's not an easy road, but it's a road worth traveling. To be in love with yourself, there's no better gift. And not in that, you know, they're not in that narcissistic way, but
Yeah,
in that
no, I
true,
get what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, to be just to you're I would tell them, you are absolutely worth it. Um, just knowing, when I was in that position, I know I didn't feel like I was worth it. And that was probably the first stepping stone, is to know that I was.
That
So,
that you were and that you are worth it.
exactly.
Worth
Yep.
it. That was
And do what you can. This isn't a zero sum game. It's not, oh, I can't work out for 3 hours today, or 2 hours, so I'm not going to do anything today. Just do something, anything, just take that walk. I mean, walking is so underrated, just take the walk. Um, the walk was the catalyst for the rest of my health journey. It led to the weight training. I do Pilates now. All kinds of things. But the springboard was the walking. There's no better feeling than, and the day that I ran for the first time, I cried the day I ran for the first time, because I didn't think I could ever do that again. So it's a springboard to so many different things. So just don't underestimate going for a walk.
Yeah, yeah. That I'm gonna get to walking here again in just a second. But Heather, I don't know, we didn't talk about this, but you said a business, you have a website, or you're becoming an entrepreneur also.
Yeah, yeah.
Like to talk about
So
that?
yeah, this is my new baby. I'm excited. I'm not. It's not launched yet, but I'm in pre-launch here. I'm gonna take you back to that moment in the bathroom when alone.
Okay.
When I when I was washing my face and I looked in the mirror at myself and I didn't recognize myself. Um, that was the seed planted that day, and I didn't know that until probably a year or two later, as I was taking one of those walks in the woods. I was reflecting back on that day in the bathroom. And I realized what a gift self care was. And I realized that was a spark for me. Just taking that time to, it sounds so silly, to just wash my face and take care of myself, and not do it with ridicule, or someone standing over me saying, you're being, you're selfish, you're this, you're that, just for merely taking care of myself. And just the confidence. it gave me, to wash your face. I know it sounds silly, but and to put on a nice moisturizer, all this, it just gave me a sense of myself again, and just
Okay.
confidence to go out there. So that is my new baby. With all my commitment to health and nutrition and clean eating, I also was wanting to put healthy, clean products on my body. Our skin is like the biggest organ on our body, and sometimes we put these chemicals on them that are in our skincare, and I just didn't want to do that. So I set out to uh, develop this organic, clean skincare. It's made with natural botanicals and plant extracts. It's vegan. It's cruelty free. It's just really beautiful products. And I've been using them, and I just look and feel amazing when I use them, and I can't wait to give them to the world, to gift them out there, because my mission with this new company is called No Apology. My mission is to help domestic violence survivors.
Yeah.
I want to give this gift to other women, this confidence, this feeling of you can overcome a trauma. It's just a chapter in your life. There's other chapters. And just we often, our face goes out into the world. We put on this happy face, and behind that happy face is not good stuff. And so I just wanted to give this to women or men who are in this situation. So um, it's called No Apology, and because we don't apologize, I someone very near and dear to me taught me to never apologize for who I was, to be authentic. And so with that, don't apologize for having higher standards for ourselves and people and the products we use. And also no apology, because um, oftentimes in our lives we have to pick up our pieces and move on, and we don't typically get an apology from
Mhm.
those who have hurt us.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We just move on, and we overcome. And there's life after trauma. And I'm just really excited to give this out to the world. And once I get going with this, I am absolutely committed to donating some of my profits to help other domestic violence victims. I would love, love, love to like put little small skincare regimens in some domestic violence shelters, so women can just have that moment of dignity. To it seems like such a small thing, but when you're in that situation, sometimes it's just all you need, to wash your face and feel good and put on that face for the world. So um,
Well,
that's it. And I'm hoping come January, that's the goal.
Well, Heather, I will definitely put a link in the show notes to that website and as well as your social media handles. Heather, it's been an honor to have you on the podcast today. You are a shining example of what is possible and going from, as I like to say, surviving to thriving. We're out of time here, unfortunately, but before we go, is there any last minute message that you would like to say that you haven't said yet, or any last bit of advice or anything for the good of the order before we sign off here?
Sure. I would just like to say, if you have a dream, um, go and get it, and don't stop until you get there, because you're worth it.
Yeah. And I can clearly see in your expressions, your eyes, that you truly believe in your heart that you are worth it. And you're on a mission now to get other women, perhaps men too, to feel that they are worth it too. And for those that
Absolutely.
are listening, that is what made all the difference for Heather in her journey, is that she discovered that she was worth it and who she was. And that's what allowed her to transform from the thriving to surviving, as we call it, and now become this beacon of light for the world. And now she's spreading her light, far and wide. And she's gotten the nutrition down, and she's check out her Instagram handle. I'll put a link in the show notes, but she is worked out phenomenal. Phenomenal. I was like, holy cow. I mean, I like to keep up with the workouts, but For anyone listening, I definitely appreciate you being here. And as I said in the intro, I always like to give away something free. So if you've been listening here to the end of this show, today's buzzword is walking. So if you DM me the word walking and mention this podcast episode right here with Heather, I'm going to send you for free my Walking for Health Wellness program. It's a 24-day Walking for Health program because Heather, you obviously know the benefits of walking, and it's
Absolutely.
completely free. It's valued at well over, to be honest, it's valued at well over $300, the amount of research that's gone into that program. So it's yours completely free just for DMing me the word walking and for being a listener and for staying here till the end. And Heather, thank you very much. Sure appreciate you being here. And thank you, everyone. If you get a chance, please share this episode. Subscribe to the Be Well, Be Safe, Be Happy, Eat Ice Cream podcast. Wherever you listen to podcasts, leave me that 5-star review. I would definitely appreciate that. And as I always like to say at the end, until next time, this is Coach Brad. Be well, be safe, be happy, eat ice cream. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.